Welcome back to Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. Yeah, bringing the series back after 2 years. I thought it was 3 years. I was wrong. It was actually 2 years. My mistake about that. Yeah, last time I talked about this series, was basically talking about the last episode of the series. Well, first season and the OVA, which actually was the 14th episode of the series. Now, yes, I do know there was like two others, like series of shorts that came out like even after that season ended, and the one before this one. I will review those later on. I will review those later, like probably tomorrow or Thursday. Depends upon basically what exactly I'm going to do. Now, this episode is the opening episode of season 2, otherwise known as S. Not really sure why they call it S4. That's basically what the Kaito anime decided to do. Yes. I guess after 4 years after this particular season, the first season came out, they finally released another season. This episode adapted from 4 chapters. I should point out, though, this is the first one since episode 3 to adapt this many chapters. Well, actually, his scratch, I think it was first one since like episode 8. Yeah, first one since episode 8. They adapted 4 chapters. And the 4 chapters they adapted for the episode were 30, 31, 36, and 47. The first thing adapted for this episode is chapter 47. The thing I should point out, though, about Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, it's kind of similar the way it is with the series Don't Tell Me It's Naga. It's like a series of events that happen. This one basically has a plot thread happen this one. Excuse me. The first thing, which that apparently for this one, the order they put these one, they put 47 first, then 30, 31, then 36. Now I should point now, basically you're probably thinking, okay, if they adapted 36 for this episode, okay, what about 32 to 35? Well, 32 had technically been adapted for the previous season for the series. Yes, 32 was adapted for episode 12, 33 was adapted for the OVA, 34 was adapted for the 9th episode for the series. Okay. Still kind of late as episode 35. I would not be surprised if they squeezed in for next week. Just depends. So we have Toru finding out about this maid cafe. Decides to go investigate, and turns out she gets a job there. Changes her attire for this one thing. Works there for quite a while. Becomes very popular. And as though she just becomes a maid there, and then she becomes the head chef. And apparently the only thing they serve is like omelet rice, apparently. So yeah, aside from being the head chef, basically also grease people. They're also saying, oh yeah, don't call by master except for Kobayashi, even though she never refers to her as master. Yeah, never refers to her as that, and so rice, and of course then she later has a little like curse on this, like jelly whatever on the actual rice. Apparently everyone loves it, so later on she decides to quit because she got nothing out of it. She worked there for, I'd say, 2 weeks. Quit, and then later on you see her basically check out on reviews online about the restaurant. She feels very unhappy, and Kobayashi comes around and says, please don't break my mouse. Yep. Then later on we have debut of a brand new character. Thing starts off with next bit. The rest of the episode is loosely connected to each other. Now, the next bit of this thing is actually from 30, 31. It's basically a two-parter. 36 happens a little bit later. Where we had this mysterious thing happen. Someone took a bite of a mountain. Yes. And according to Kobayashi and Toru, this is the mountain where they first met. And who actually did it? Was it... Well, it's not Kana. Kana can't do it. And of course, Idru basically... Enna's basically suspected... Even... Toru basically punches her. It's like, what'd you do that for? Did you slice my mountain? Like, no. And then reveal the axe person, a new woman named Ilulu. She is a dragon. Who's got big breasts. Yes. And she is also from the Chaos faction, just like Kobayashi, just like Toru is, except she's from a radical wing of it who basically only loves destruction. So, And then for the next 5 minutes, we have Toru and Lulu battling in the sky. Look up, Anna decides to help out thanks to Kobayashi promises some sweets because she loves sweets. To basically put another barrier up, just protect the city from damage. So Toru basically goes all out after this. Is of course after Toru had basically received some damage, like her back had been scorched, her breast, yeah, even sliced up her chest. And then later on, after she beats her, opens the portal and dumps her basically back in their world. Later on, she comes back to the actual world after they go home, and she comes back, and then she just like, okay, like, because she has this thing where humans and dragons can't coexist, and then she spots Kobayashi, like, after she comes back, like, go after Kobayashi, maybe after Toru. And then she tries to seduce her. It was like, oh, maybe into this. So she opens up her shirt and almost like exposes her breast right in front of her, and basically almost burying her face into it. And then she just smacks one in the breast. And then in the manga, she says, I'm a girl. And in the anime, she says, I'm a woman. Yep. And later on, she follows her on the train. After chatting for a bit, goes on the train. And of course, they have more conversation about the coexistent dragon thing. And then, yeah, more weird stuff here. Where after basically off the train, she goes to use the bathroom. And then she notices, what the heck? Yeah, something else is weird. Something has happened. And of course, to be continued for next week's episode. But there's a bonus bit here, which I think is anime original. I don't see it in the manga. We have Fafnir attempt to log into his online video game. And apparently there's been too many login attempts, so he's been temporarily banned. I've tried multiple times to get in. Excuse me. He decided to go off basically to deal with it, and his roommate is wondering what the heck he's up to. Oh yeah, by the way, Luca was actually suspected to do, but she was out of the country. She briefly appears in the episode. Yes, Luca does appear in the episode. Kana and Luca don't really do anything in this episode. Kana appears briefly at the beginning, and then of course, the rest of the episode she's not even in at all. Oh. Luca, her appearance in this episode is very brief. We also have this weird thing where Sota, I thought this was so funny, where she just plays the flute and she starts dancing. I thought that was so funny. Like, and of course, again, wondering like where the heck she's kicked by a magical bond. Like, maybe because he summoned her. I don't know. I thought it was so funny. Yep. But yeah, that's pretty much the episode for you. It's a pretty good episode. And man, it's going to be interesting for that cliffhanger. Yep. So, my guess is for next week, we're going to do, they're definitely going to do 37 next week, because that basically picks up where 36 left off. Definitely. If I would say basically what would basically else they adapt, I highly doubt they could just do one episode of like one chapter. They did for episode 9, but I highly doubt it is going to be just for that one. What chapters am I hoping for next week besides 37, which is an obvious one? Maybe they could adapt 35. Yeah, maybe like 35, 37. I mean, they adapted a good chunk of the previous season. I'd say they adapted in just, well, in the case of the previous season, they adapted most of the manga. Like the first, almost first 33 chapters. They only skipped over, just a few small handful of chapters. Yes. So, I would think they would do 35, also with 37, and maybe go 39, 38, 39. It's possible, to say the least. Yes, because, well, they did that also 47 as well, and they already did 40. They did it for episode 3, so there's probably more Lulu stuff next week, but we'll probably find out for next week's episode. Okay, so that's it for Cyclical Review, and that's going to be a video tonight. So tomorrow, I expect to see a review for newest episode of Shaman King. I also plan on doing reviews for the short Mr. Kobayashi's Dragon Maid in order to continue this for another few episodes before next week comes out, so I can basically just catch up what's been released. And yes, I have been reading the manga. Surprisingly, the manga itself, if you're curious to how many chapters this series is released in just a few episodes, how many episodes has been released? Chapters? It's been 109. Yep. Next week's episode is called Hot Guy Kobayashi. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what next week's episode is going to be called. Hot Guy Kobayashi. Which, that's going to be interesting. Mm-hmm. Yep. So, until you see you all tomorrow for shamming a little bit more Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. Bye.